This is Mick Gillette.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Brian Dunn.
This is Slim Jim Phantom.
This is Nathan East.
This is Thomas McElroy.
This is J.R. Robinson.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Michael Cologne.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hi, this is Stewart Copeland of Gizmodrome, and you're listening to The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
All right.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an auspicious occasion for me because I grew up playing the drums.
Wait a minute, those two things don't go together. Growing up and playing
the
drums.
Yeah.
The truth comes out.
Wow. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Stewart Copeland needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. He was a drummer in a little band called Curved Air. Here's what I found interesting about that. You started off as the road manager for Curved Air?
Yes, I've done pretty much everything in the show business. Radio jock, journalist, roadie, lighting operator, mixer, tour manager. This was all when I thought that I was going to be on this side of the camera rather than the other side of the camera. Yeah. But I've kind of been on both sides of the camera.
Well, here's what I find amusing about that. I'll take a sidebar with our listeners. That means there was another guy in Curved Air who had the drums first.
Yes, Florence. Well, yeah, I was the last guy to join Curved Air.
Okay.
As I like to say, I was the last rat to jump aboard the sinking ship.
I see.
They had been successful long before through various permutations. And I was playing in a band with the violin player. We were called Stark Naked and the Car Thieves. And the Curved Air just decided to reform to raise some money to pay off a tax bill.
Right.
And I just got myself in as the tour manager.
Stark Naked and the Car Thieves.
That was my brother's Vietnam band.
That's a pretty cool name.
That is a pretty cool name. In fact, that's what I wanted to call Gizmodrome.
Oh, yeah?
But there's some guy out there called Stark Naked.
What?
Yeah.
I think he went to Cal about 25 years ago.
I think the guy's dead, by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah, that guy. Well,
he died? We can use that name?
I believe.
Cool.
The Naked Guy.
Following that stint in Curved Air, he was in another little band known as The Police.
Yeah.
Which was probably the biggest band
it was
in the
physically
universe,
little.
According to, it was
there was only three
little.
of us.
Yeah.
The
You guys got a lot
actually
done.
Physically took up relatively little space. You guys got a story?
Do we have a story?
Shit, yeah. We have a story. I'm a combat vet. I've been on 1,000 missions. I was a spy, kind of like your dad was. Yeah.
In what theater?
I was in Iraq a whole lot, in Afghanistan.
What do you know? Tahki Arbiente? Marhaba.
Marhaba, yeah.
Mabsout.
Sahlin, and all that kind of stuff.
Ahlan.
Yeah.
Sahten.
I know a lot of farming dialogue.
Boy, that really did get in your DNA.
Yeah, well, the most useful and colorful Arabic, I don't know if we'd want to use on radio, even on your radio.
Yeah.
My Arabic is not that great. I can't remember most of it. I can understand more than I can remember to speak. But I can walk up to an Arab and we have a full-on dialogue, and it's, how you doing? What's up? Yeah, great, man. Like that.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Just an exchange of salutations.
Just an exchange of salutations, and
yes.
different regions have different colors on it. And so that's the first order of business, of just versions of what's up.
Yeah.
And so when I run into an Arab and I do this, my friends with me say, wow, you speak Arabic. Wow. So it's just hello, what's up? You know, if I need to ask for directions, that's a whole different.
You can accomplish a lot, too, because a lot of it's boilerplate about God and being reverential towards God.
Yeah.
So you're like, hello, my brother.
If God wills.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes,
God willing. Inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah. Shaku Maku is a fun one. Shaku Maku, like, what up? You know, really.
Is that what that is?
Yep. Depends on where you're at.
Well, it's us Americans and Northern Europeans who say what is what it is, what it is. We're going to do this or not.
Yes.
And the Arabs and other cultures, they'd say, we're going to do this if God wills it.
It's kind of hot. Maybe I might be hotter
maybe.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know?
we're working on it.
Yeah, like Yom Aswad. I mean, it's a black day. It's a black day. It's too hot.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And John's a private eye.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you've both gone on radio. You're like my dad.
Kind
the world's most public private eye.
Right.
Exactly. Did your dad know Alan Dulles?
Yes, worked for him.
Yeah, well, had to, right?
I'm not sure that they were chuckle buddies, but
right. But that means if you go back to the OSS, that's that time frame.
Well, when I was born in Alexandria, Virginia, which is a suburb of Langley and CIA headquarters, or as they called it, the old glue factory. And while I was born, my daddy was away on business. He was in Cairo, Egypt, installing a dictator named of Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was our guy and was a leader of the non-aligned movement. But our little secret was that he was our guy. So that's when I was 2 months old, I was shipped over to Cairo and never saw America again until I was 18.
And that'll stick.
And you came here and you went to school?
I went to boarding school in England.
Oh, okay.
And then college in San Diego, California, and UC Berkeley.
So maybe you knew the Naked Guy. He's a Berkeley guy.
Yeah, there was a guy who spent, it was a number of years, and he was just known as the Naked Guy. And if you were around Berkeley, you'd just see him. He'd be riding his
naked
bike.
Cowboy and
Kind of,
Times
sort of.
Square.
Yeah.
He's not actually even naked.
Yeah. This guy
was naked.
Yeah.
Really, full on naked.
He might put a bandana on in class.
Well, I remember in my day, streaking was a thing.
Oh, sure. I think that's still a thing.
You know what else, along with the Naked Guy, isn't with us anymore, is Air Studios in Montserrat.
Yeah, the building is still there. I saw some pictures recently.
Yeah.
Not only was the studio wiped out with a hurricane, and now the swimming pool has alligators and vines, and there are vines growing through all the windows and everything.
It's just overtaken.
The building is there. It's just been reclaimed by the jungle.
Wow.
But more importantly, for the whole island of Montserrat, the volcano ate the other half of the island.
Oh.
And the little town of Plymouth is under 20 feet of ash. It just I visited that volcano. I went up there.
Wow.
It smelled like a bathroom. They don't tell you that about volcanoes.
Oh.
Basically, it's methane. And you're climbing up to go see the volcano. It gets smellier and smellier. And damn, they should clean out the bath. And it's the volcano. But that volcano not only smelled real bad, but it blew up and buried about 2/3 of the island.
Wow. Some iconic records were made there, including, you guys made Ghost in the Machine there, right?
We made Ghost in the Machine and Synchronicity there.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
after we finished, I think whether it was one of the albums, Synchronicity or Ghost in the Machine, we all left. And it was a paradise island. We each had our own little villa with swimming pool and beautiful gardens and everything. And it was really pretty great. So when we finished the record, Stingo stayed on just by way of holiday. And the next band to check in was Dire Straits.
Oh, well, that was serendipitous.
Yeah, and they, we knew those guys. We'd hung out before. We'd supported them, or we'd played on festivals together or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Sting goes over there just as their guitarist is walking out the door, saying, "I'm leaving. That's it." And he's a good buddy of mine too, by the way. But Sting walks in, and they're playing the song, and he goes, "How about this? I want my MTV." And
The rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
How about leaving a studio going, all right, screw you guys, I'm out of here. And
as the door's just about to close, as he's walking out, Stingo's walking in.
Money for nothing indeed.
That is, yeah. Wow. So your new band, the Super Group.
Supper Group, yes, thank you.
Supper.
Well, this speaks to our deep-lying, our inner motivation here, the pinnacle that we seek to conquer here. Our agenda, which comes back from how this band began, which was with no agenda, basically an excuse to go to Italy, eat pasta, enjoy the food. And so pretty much the agenda for this band really is La Dolce Vita.
Nice.
Yeah.
The agenda is pasta.
Yeah.
And so that's why some might call us a super group, but we see ourselves as more of a supper group.
That is a great agenda. That means that you guys are really beholden to nobody in your adventurous nature in the songwriting. Is that true?
Well, that was true in the studio, but now that we're out in the world seeing the result of this bacchanal, we just got into the studio. We got 4 guys, Adrian Ballou, Mark King, Vittorio Cosma, and me. I got them in false pretenses.
Yes.
I thought they thought they were going to be playing on overdubbing on some tracks, but no, 4 guys in a room. And just to make it blow up, we just egged each other on. We wound each other up. It's hard to stay rational with Mark blasting away on the bass like that. And then when Adrian comes in with that extremely exotic stuff, we just had a great time. And the main thing was, while we were in there amongst ourselves, we kicked our ass. We blew our minds. We rocked us.
Yes.
All right.
That's what being in a band is all about, by the way. And when you're in a band where we rock us, that's the correct actual point of view. Either that or you're in the wrong band.
Yeah.
Or you give up. Because there's not many guarantees. At least if we rock us, so we were in the studio setting it on fire, in our own opinions. Now that we're here amongst you out in the world, we're finding out that what we did, it might actually be important.
Might be a bit much.
It might have consequence.
Wow. There were a couple of things that intrigued me about your pairing with Mark King as a rhythm section, because I always wondered what it would be like if he played bass on King of Pain. And I similarly wondered what it would be like if you played drums on Good Man in a Storm.
I haven't got that clean funk snap. I'm kind of more Afrobeat, loosey-goosey. So I probably wouldn't be the right guy for that track.
Okay.
King of Pain, what is the bass line on that? Dun, 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 dun. God, I never even saw the bass line in King of Pain. I just focus on that lyric. It's one of the only lyrics I ever listened to because it's such a great lyric.
Yeah. It's kind of driving, and I feel like
but it's doesn't speak to Mark's real strengths.
In both cases, you'd have to turn it upside down, and the whole composition would be different.
I'll have to check that out.
Okay.
When someone like Adrian shows up in the band, he doesn't have bounds for what he does.
Well, he does, actually. He can absolutely deliver what you need. You have an idea for your guitar part for your song.
Right.
He can get into your head, figure out what it is you want.
Yeah.
Whether you can articulate it or not, he can figure out and play it. Absolutely. He's a totally professional session guy when he needs to be.
Right.
And that's what he thought he was going to be doing on
this is what
he thought was my little project.
Here's the pretense.
Okay, a couple of days into this, he realized it's not Stewart's record, it's his record.
Right.
And that's where the really eccentric stuff starts coming out.
Yeah.
When you give people rein, then they start digging into their own cookie jar, and it starts to get into the really rich stuff.
How do you assess, as you're trying to figure all this out, one, what's going to blow your guys' mind, but also are you worried about the audience being able to keep up with Adrian? Because I look at Adrian.
Not really.
Okay.
If you try and second guess an audience, that is a slippery slope to oblivion.
Yes.
But you do get pressure. You do get people who feel that they want to tell you, look, stop doing that. Do what I like that you do.
Play the hits. Yeah.
And in fact, I'm really surprised that I haven't heard more of. I'm sitting here waiting for the other foot to drop. Get back on the drums, Copeland.
Yeah.
Okay. Fortunately, I enjoy playing the drums, and I'm back on the drums. I'll be playing plenty of drums.
Yes.
But I do kind of like this guitar thing.
Yeah.
Hitting the power chords and doing the guitar face up against some gigantic Marshall stacks.
Yes.
That's kind of fun. And since I did these sessions, these kind of Facebook online things, the feedback has been much more favorable than I thought. I mean, sure, there's people who like it, but I was expecting an overwhelming majority of folks out there to be saying, get back on the drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like it when you play the drums. Rolling Stone recently put you at number 10 in their list of the greatest rock and roll drummers.
Demoted.
Yeah, you were at 5.
I was up there. I was at 5
point,
at one point,
Five.
then slipped back to 7.
Who slipped in?
Do
we know?
There's always someone new to go in there.
Yeah.
But we talk about these lists quite a bit just because
the fact that Buddy
we
Rich,
hate them.
Well, wait a minute. The fact that Buddy Rich is not on the list
does
nullifies
kind
the
of,
whole list.
Kind of, it's brag-worthy,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
There were some people who showed up on the list, though, that I was happy got some recognition. Sheila E. was on the list. Tony Thompson was on the list.
Yeah.
Zig was on the list, right?
Zig was on the list.
Zigaboo?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, there is some
it makes it a little grand.
There is some justice in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're playing, though, your influences.
Young Joey, who should be up there, doesn't get so many votes in a magazine such as Rolling Stone because they just don't get that thrash metal is where all the real chops are these days. For drummers and guitarists, too, thrash metal is where the chops are. They're not in pop music. They're not in hip-hop. They're not in... For chops, go to metal.
Is that what the innovators are as well, or is that the chop hands?
No, that's not so much about innovation. It's just about the only innovation is how much faster can you do that stuff with your feet.
Right.
Okay, in terms of innovation, then where does the innovation live, do you think?
In the kind of music that I don't particularly like that much. It's with Kendrick, Kanye. I first noticed it with Black Eyed Peas. And none of these are bands that I'm particularly a fan of, but what I respect deeply is that it is finally revolutionary. They figured out that they can make popular music, not exotic, weird, out there music, experimental stuff, no, but pop music. They could connect with the wider audience with no guitar, bass, and drums.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah.
Since Bill Haley, since Chuck Berry, it's been guitar, bass, and drums. E, A, and D chords. Same subject, same everything. Same backbeat, same rhythmic structure, same chord structure, same song structure, everything for half a century.
Same screwing girls in cars.
Well, no, I think Kendrick and Kanye are still doing that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully the young musicians haven't lost that part. But no, it really is revolutionary. And that's I'm exposed to it. I do I drive my daughter to high school, and that's where I get this obligatory education in modern music, and I respect it.
How long is that
As soon
drive?
as she's out of the car, I'm back into Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
How long is that drive?
It's about 20 minutes.
Wow, that's like 4 or 5 songs.
Yeah. But no, that's 8 or 9 songs because she doesn't ever listen to a whole song.
Oh,
okay.
that's right. Yes, yeah. They don't finish songs.
She gets the song, she gets the part she likes, and then hits the button. Now, in my years of wisdom, I've learned that I actually enjoy music when I don't choose it.
Oh,
And,
okay.
in fact, tests show that. Sociological tests show that if you just are driving in your car and you receive music from whatever station it is, you're actually enjoying music. Your level of enjoyment of the music is, even if a heart track comes on, it's not that bad. But if you're choosing a track, it better hit the nail on the head or you hit next. And you don't enjoy the music that you choose yourself as much.
You said you're listening
what
to...
this is for your listeners
Yes.
sitting at home, just sit there and take it, folks. We'll make the
there and take
decisions
it.
for you.
Gizmodrome from track 1 all the way through track 15.
Yeah.
That almost speaks to the syndrome of sitting in front of the TV and vegging out. And, when sometimes you come across a movie that you own,
Yeah.
but it comes on TV.
How do you mean you
and
own it? You
wa-
actually paid for it?
No, you purchased the DVD at some
yeah.
point, or you have the Blu-ray,
Yeah.
and it's sitting right underneath your TV. But for some reason, when Major League or the Blues Brothers or something comes on TV, I'll just sit there and watch it, and it's on TV, and it's because I didn't choose. I could choose it sitting underneath.
Well, that's because the experience that you're having is not so much edification and receiving of the arts. I think the vegging out part is the prime
That was the
motivation of the activity.
vegification.
It's the
Right.
comfort of your couch. It's the non-pressure on your mind. The easy receipt of whatever the hell they decide to pour into your mind.
You said you're listening to Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Is that because you're doing...
Comfort music,
Okay.
like comfort food.
yeah.
Right.
It's
Is
like
that-
what they feed you in hospitals.
Right, yes. Lots of gravy, lots of good carrots and peas,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Are you doing that
Stick to
partly
your
also?
ribs music.
Yes.
Well, no, that's when I'm driving.
Okay.
In here, in this studio, when I'm doing my roadieing in here, basically I'm a glorified roadie. I love to wire stuff.
Yes.
And so I'm here concealing wires and so on. And the music that I listen to is a bizarre station called Shirley and Spinoza, which is on iTunes. It's an iTunes radio station.
Okay.
I don't know how those guys make a living or who besides me is listening to it. It is out beyond belief. It gives eclectic a whole next level eclectic. Chinese folk music,
Yes.
then a Beach Boys song, then some Armenian chants. Played as the backdrop to a cigarette commercial, 50s radio plays. Sometimes I'm doing is this even music?
Right.
It's just like some concrete noise of some kind, a pile driver or something, and then somebody reciting, an old speech from George Wallace or something,
Yeah.
So that is the out part of receiving weird stuff. And like I tell young musicians, weird stuff in, weird stuff out.
Yeah. What makes that station stick for you? I mean, there's a million things you can listen to nowadays.
In the car, it's not available in my car. It might be, but I haven't found it. So in the car, I listen to Sirius XM.
Right, yeah.
And it's so microcast now
Yes.
that I've got 3 or 4 stations that hit the nail on the head of exactly
Yes.
60s, 70s, or 80s, depending on how nostalgic I want to get. Do I want to go back to my teens or back to early adulthood? You can choose your nostalgia right there. But then between classic vinyl, deep cuts, and it's exactly music for guys who grew up exactly when and where I grew up, playing the hits of my time. And it's not just a matter of taste. Those songs, and even the songs that I didn't particularly like back in the day, but they still have the emotional baggage of that time. The girl I was into loved Steely Dan. I didn't.
Yeah.
But now I hear that Steely Dan track, and it reminds me of that girl. And by the way, those guys are pretty clever harmonically. And even though that's the skinniest drum sound ever recorded, it sort of works for the track. And I'm not young and aggressive and insulted by wrong art anymore like I was as a kid. I might have wished that girl preferred Jimi Hendrix as I did, but, life's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just, over the weekend, Walter Becker passed.
Yes, he did.
That was something else.
Too soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, too soon. Let's talk about Gizmodrome. What made you pick those three musicians? I mean, you've been playing with Vittorio Cosma for a long time.
Yeah, we go way back to our summer holidays in Italy pretending to be a band. Like I said, with no agenda, no product, nothing, just to play the piazzas. And they're really fun shows, so we go way back. But this idea of making an album arose. A record company was going to fund it. And it was Vittorio who said, well, we've been trying to tempt Adrian into joining us on our summer adventures, telling about we rehearse, in these little Italian towns. They'll give you a villa, a little opera house to rehearse in, out in some little fun, an Elba or a Longiano, these beautiful little mountain village. They'll give you all in return for a concert on the village square. And they'll give you these resources for a couple of weeks to get your act together, whatever. Then you do a concert on the village square, and then you go off and do a little fun little tour of Italy. And we've been trying to entice Adrian to join us for one of those. They hadn't quite, but when we got the record thing that happened to coincide with the time that, yeah, sure, I'll give that a try. See, he comes in thinking he's just going to overdub a couple tracks.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so when Victoria called me up and said, hey, look, I think I can get Adrian, my first thought was, hey, let's call Mark. And so I'm there on the phone with Vittorio, and I'm texting Mark, and he's back within 10 minutes. I'm in, sure. I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
You know who else is in? WeFixYourScript.com. They offer one-on-one consulting by award-winning, produced, working writers who have optioned scripts and specialize in your genre. WeFixYourScript.com for your short, web series, TV pilot, or feature. If you need help with concept development, your logline, your synopsis, the working writing pros at WeFixYourScript.com will take your script from concept to completion. WeFixYourScript.com. Hey, drama, comedy, thriller, horror, documentary, WeFixYourScript.com has a consultant for you who has won awards and optioned scripts in your category, so they know the craft of storytelling, plot lines, character development, and they'll share it with you to make your script polished, professional, and hot. Visit WeFixYourScript.com and fill out the submission form to get started. That's WeFixYourScript.com.
Why Mark, though? Like, what made you go, we need Mark? What was that thought?
Well, it's the same calculation as always. Somebody's got to sing.
Right, okay.
And a bass player to sing, that's always been that's a winning combination for me.
Yeah.
And also, he is a monster.
He is.
And we sort of, I don't know quite how we'd been in touch, I think on Twitter for some reason, And Level 42, I love that band. Mm-hmm. Their YouTube clips of them live, that is a raging band. And that rhythm section,
That
which,
is a
by
raging
the way,
band.
that is now the Gizmodrome rhythm section, because Pete Biggin, the
no
Level
kidding.
42 drummer, is going to be playing with us.
Come on.
Yeah, that's the drummer. When I'm posing around at the front of the stage doing the guitar face, we got Pete Biggin holding it down. So it's never going to get boring. Whether I'm on the drums or not, it's going to rock.
He's my favorite young drummer.
Really?
Yeah, I can refer to him as a young drummer because I'm old. But of the drummers who weren't around when I was growing up, I really like what he does because
Well, he's very tight, funky.
Yeah, he's
I'm
funky.
gonna loosen him up a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a little afro roll in there.
Yeah.
But he's got the snap, and I like that snap.
What about your growing up in the Middle East? How much music did you soak up while you were growing up that was not American music?
Well, the music that I was intending to soak up, that I thought I was soaking up, was American music.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, I didn't realize it, but subliminally, I physically heard a lot more non-American music surrounded by it, in the taxi, in the restaurant, in the street. It just like you're surrounded by music blaring out of everywhere. I wasn't paying that much attention, but it was going into the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, it turns out that the founding blocks of the Arabic baladi rhythm are similar to those building blocks of reggae rhythm. The emphasis on the third beat of the bar, the absence of one. And so when it came in 1977, this merge of punk and dub being like, because the punk clubs, they needed some chill out time because even punks on sniffing glue get a headache.
You got to breathe at some point.
But there's no such thing as chill punk, so they would play hostile dub, reggae. And it had the requisite hostility, but was chill. And so I think it was the Clash who had the idea of attempting to play reggae, and Tory Chimes, the drummer, he figured out, wait a minute, the bass drum goes there and at the same time as the rim shot, and I'm sure his head turned to spaghetti, as mine did when I listened to Bob Marley when I was in college. Saying, wait a minute, what's he doing?
Yeah.
But having figured out what he's doing, I found, hey, I know this groove.
Yeah.
This groove is already in my DNA.
Right.
And so all those Police records that were allegedly reggae actually had more in common with the Arabic ballady rhythm. It was kind of a mix of the two, I suppose. But it was that drop kick, not where you expect it to be.
Yeah. I listened to the Police before I got into Sly and Robbie. And so to me, it's not the same.
No, they're totally incorrect.
Yeah.
There's one or two, I think, Walking on the Moon might be. There's one or two that are classic orthodox reggae, but mostly it's a version.
Yeah. It's like the bands like English Beat and those kind of bands that just sort of had their own version of it. It's just slightly different.
Yeah.
But wonderful. And by the way, thank you for all of that because, it shaped how I grew up and the thoughts and the sounds and how I approach things. You and your buddies have a giant impact on the guy that I am, so thank you.
We are humbled.
Well,
and I say that it sounds real easy, but it's actually true. You know, when we did the reunion tour, that's kind of when it brought it back to us how this is not our thing anymore. It's not, it doesn't belong to us anymore. It belongs to all those folks out there who've lived there. Like I was saying, a lot of things, even if you weren't a fan of the band, it still was a part of the soundtrack of that period.
Right.
And so when we
it was
went
unavoidable.
when we did the reunion tour and we saw the impact of those songs that had grown in the 30-year absence, so it was even more. That same hot 16-year-old is now 36 in the arms of her husband, and she's still hot.
Yeah.
Just because of the love, the growth, the fullness of life, and the emotion that you get back from 80,000 people.
Yes.
That's something bigger than yourself.
Has that become more of a driving factor for you as you create? Is that
No, that's an outlier. That's an irrelevant thing for my life and for Sting and Andy too. We all are pursuing our artistic vision, striving forward, not backwards. But the Police is a force majeure.
Sure.
It's irrelevant to us, and we're irrelevant to it in a way. It sort of has to be the same three guys playing it, but we're just playing a part. The thing is, those Police songs played by those three guys is an event that has a particular kind of impact. It's not where we're going. It's not what we want to do. Nobody's writing new Police songs. It is what it was, and what it was is what it is. And I'm losing my mind now.
But it's worth freezing in time.
Yeah, it's not a part of our life. It's a separate thing. It's like I regard it as like jury duty. It's like your civic responsibility in a way.
Yeah.
You put it off and you put it off. When you get there, it's actually kind of interesting, but it eats your life.
Yeah.
And your life is on hold. It just takes over everything. And
how would you characterize your artistic vision now?
A natural flowing river. And for some reason, I seem to still be curious about stuff. I learned that an old dog can learn new tricks, and that is a life changer, coming to that realization. Last summer I decided I'm going to learn Italian. I'm bad at learning languages, I've always thought, and I'm too old to be learned. But I learned. And I'm not I'm not quite there yet. I'm still learning. I learned how to orchestrate for giant orchestra. Can, an old dog can learn new tricks. And so I'm learning new tricks. This thing about right now, my new mountain, is I'm going to go play guitar and sing at the front of the stage.
Yes. Front.
In the front. And in fact, I got a message for all you drummers out there listening to this. Next time you're in rehearsal, check out check out, how many times does the guitarist have to change his T-shirt? Not once. Okay, and that sumbitch gets paid just as much as you do.
That's right.
Okay, start changing things, my brethren.
Wow.
Anyhow, okay, I'm now that guitarist.
Yeah.
And I don't expect to have to change T-shirt more than once a day. You know, while the drummer's back there while Pete is back there chopping wood for 2 hours, I will be taking my ease at the front of the stage.
Taking my ease.
No, but
Nicely done.
it's okay, it's easy physically, but it's a little tricky. And there's some, this thing I got to remember to, when I grab my guitar, I got to remember to grab a pick.
Right.
Then I go to the front of the stage and I hit my power chord. I need to have the volume up.
Yes.
It's strumming while singing. It's harder than it looks,
Yeah.
But it's the thing is, so you asked me about the artistic vision. Playing with new toys, I guess, is the easiest way. But what do I do with those new toys? The Lord provides. The river flows. I don't know where it comes from, but I just open the sluice and there's a whole bunch of music falls into my lap. The tunes, the rhythms, the ideas. It is an unending stream, and all I got to do is open the sluice gate, and more music floods into my plate.
So if a Police tour allows you to look a year ahead and go, I'm going to have no time to myself for the next 12 months.
Yes.
How long ahead do you look with Gizmodrome?
Well, looking ahead, I see in my crystal ball a tour, beginning of the year, stretching probably through the summer, where we'll play the festivals. We should be kicking ass by then. By the summers, we will go up in those festivals up against other bands. The beginning part of the year, we'll play clubs, small theaters, work our way, pay our dues, get our act together. By the time we
Loosen
get to the summer,
up,
and we're
then
playing
it's time
the
to cut
festivals,
heads.
and this is just like the Police was. By the time we got to the festivals, we could burn the place down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that will, because I'm arrogant and optimistic, I'm pretty sure this band is going to work those festivals hard. And minute we finish doing that, we're already talking about another record, because there's some things that we landed on as we were finishing this record. For instance, Adrian and me, we get singing together, and it's like this really wrong version of the Everly Brothers, because we both have a similar kind of rhythmic sensibility, that kind of sardonic talking, singing. And actually, they match pretty well, and so we want to get into more of that. Just as we were finishing up.
Wrong, but oh so right.
Yeah.
The stewardess giving you a spanking.
Yeah, there you go. No, but there's a bunch of tricks that we want to explore further.
Yeah. When I was watching your sessions that you did the other day in New York, you do strike me as like a talking kind of singer and maybe kind of a storyteller. I mean,
that's the deal.
At the point in your life where you can reflect and say, this is how this goes, and kind of tell these stories.
Well, the singing part's kind of hit and miss, but the storytelling part. But I do hit some notes. I sing the occasional melody.
Yeah. No, and I think it's great. But I love
some of it
the
down here.
Oh wow, yeah. See down there.
My wife loves the Barry Manilow.
Does she really? Yeah.
Not Barry White, but Barry Manilow.
No, Barry, you're right. Yeah. She likes the Barry Manilow too.
Okay.
But the Barry White was the producer's idea. Claudio Dentes. We have this producer. I've never been produced before. And the guy, Claudio, he was the impresario who brought it together, found the money, booked the studio, and he's there. And he's a genial, fun guy to have around, so he's always around. And one day he says, well, look, take out that AKG on the amp there and switch that. Put a 57, put a Shure on that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was about to say, didn't occur to me to say so, but that's the right, he knows microphones. Then he says, Stewart, this song here, take it up, 1/3, try it in the A.
Yeah.
I don't know it in A. I only know these chords. He said, but Adrian, he can do it. Well, of course he can play it in any key. Okay. But what do okay, let me try. It works.
Yes.
Okay. And then he starts getting into the chorus is it's not strong enough. I know you've got the better, And I'm chasing him around the room with a meat cleaver. This way, he's a slippery little Italian.
Yeah.
He's round, but he's fast. And I'm chasing him around. And okay, I'll try it. Okay, you don't like that, well, but that, okay, I'll come up with something. And I do come. So this being produced.
Yes.
Wow, that's really cool. And because as I realized that this is going on, okay, I get it. This is being produced, and Claudio is a producer. And then I realized his track record, he's produced a lot of hits in Italy.
Right.
He's made careers and stuff. He's a serious big time producer. It just hadn't crossed my mind that when he tells about it, I thought he was like managing. No, he's the producer.
Right.
And so when it came to singing this song, and I'm joking around on the mic, and I just kind of, because this is the one I sing to my children at night. And he says, they sing a song like this. You're kidding me. You can't actually sing down there.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for Babylon. Might make a few mistakes. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Cool. I never would have thought of that. It was his idea. But I get home, and my wife is nuts for that.
Really?
Darling, she says.
Yes.
Wow. What did Hugh Padgham do?
He set up the microphones,
Okay.
no, which he was very good at.
Uh-huh.
And he had a very good bedside manner,
I see.
which was mainly staying out of the way.
Staying out of the way.
Keeping his head down while he quietly – he was all about sound.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, it was his idea to put the drums up in the dining room where just the sound of this clattery, totally unstudio room with just a regular room with windows and wooden peaked roof, and drums sound great in here. Things like that, the sound, and you can hear dramatically when he took over engineering, there's a big change in the sound of the records.
Okay. Because to hear you say that you had never been produced, that makes it sound like either he was very subtle in his approach and was, you know, able to kind of.
No, in The Police, we never had a producer.
Yeah.
In the early days, Nigel Gray, who was also an engineer, he might, because Nigel Gray was also an umpire.
Okay.
And it wasn't so much that he would say, guys, you need a stronger chorus, or guys, I think this, you know, it was more like, Sting, stop beating up on Andy. Or Stewart, it's Sting, stop, get your hands off each other's throats. And just somehow, just softly, he sort of, as umpire, he kept it moving forward. But in those days, that was an easier job because we were much more codependent. And we were not so affirmed in our grasp of music, and we were still learning music, basically. Hugh it was a much more challenging environment for Hugh because by that time, we all knew how to make a record.
Right.
Each one of us. And
so he really did have to stay out of the way.
well, because at this point, our opinions about which way to take the band and how to do it were much more vehement.
And qualified, frankly.
And qualified, exactly. You know, when Sting says, I think it should be like this, well, you know, he actually knows a thing or two about arranging, and he's probably right. That doesn't make me want to put up with that. Sure, you're right, but shut up. The folly of youth.
But now that you're older and you can
We
be
can laugh.
produced. Yes, we can laugh. You're being produced. There is trust that you have
Well,
to give
when
up.
you get older, you realize you don't have to be the boss of everything.
Right.
I don't have to.
Are you not the boss of Gizmodrome?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Band
I heard
leadership.
Mark call you the boss.
Well, that's very polite of him. But really, bossmanship in a band is the best idea first. Stingo wasn't the boss of the band at all, but he
didn't have a lot of good ideas.
Very, very often he had the best idea first.
Okay.
You got to get up early in the day to beat Stingo to the punch with, hey, guys, what should we do? I got an idea. He's real quick with great ideas, and so you just get into a rhythm of following that flow, and it worked out pretty well. It drove me nuts some of the times because there's that momentum going in that direction, and some of my instincts might have gone in a different direction. And so in early days, we would have reached something that satisfied both of us and so on, but it became harder and harder. The compromises, it just became more and more difficult, and we can look back and understand why, for good creative reasons.
Yeah.
But in Gizmodrome, it's really the best idea first, and I had kind of a head start because I had all these songs in the cookie jar, and because their expectation was that I'm going to tell them what to play.
Right.
They arrived thinking that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
And I did kind of show them, you know, here's the riff for the verse, here's the riff for the chorus, and then here's the bridge, and we chew on it, and pretty soon Adrian says, well, how about this? And Mark says, but that. And pretty soon, this is what I wanted. It was something better than I could come up with. I want these guys, their creative juices flowing, their river to flow. And then when the four of us, after chewing on it for maybe 20 minutes about, okay, here's what it basically is, we go in and start doing takes, four of us in a room, looking at each other. And that's where the sparks fly. We would
Yes.
and by the way, that's how we did it with the Police, too, where we would hear the song, chew on it, and record it right then and there. And for decades later, I'm living with whatever I came up with that day, that take, because the next take was completely different set of drum fills and so on. That 3 minutes is encapsulated forever.
Yes.
But so in Gizmodrome, I had a head start, but it was very much my intention to unload the ownership onto them so that their ownership increases, and so also does their creativity and their commitment to the mission. And we're now a band, and I don't have to pay them by the hour. I could never afford those guys as
No
session
kidding.
players doing what I tell them to do.
Right.
But in a band, if they're infused with the enthusiasm, they feel the band. I don't care what you're paying me. I want to be a part of this. That's what we were headed for. And that's sort of where it's at. And like I say, every now and then, Mark has an idea, and he's the band leader for pursuing that idea.
Yes.
He's in that moment. We're following his leadership.
I could see, like, I want to take your river analogy a little further. Like, you and Sting have, maybe you're part of the same delta, but after a while you get tired of, I'm going to say a fancy word too, because you said a bunch of Italian words, portage. You get tired of picking up your boat and having to go over to Sting's part of the river. Now
Is
you're
that the origin
finding
of the word portage?
I love that word, portage.
portage. You know what that means, right? That's when you pick
Yeah.
your boat up. Yeah. So
That's when your canoe
right.
needs to be carried.
Yes. And you could say portage, but that's not what we're doing up here.
Yeah, no.
We're saying portage.
That's right.
But you find Adrian Ballou and the crew that you're in now, and then you're like, let me show you, let me be river guide and kind of show you my river, and now I'll let them kind of release out and find out what they can see within this thing.
Yep, that's exactly it. Because you can't make a rock album by hiring session players and telling them what to play anyway. No matter how much you pay them, it's not going to have that X factor, that explosive, exploratory feel.
Is that what was missing from Steely Dan for you?
Yes, that's true, and it's a valid criticism of Steely Dan, but it doesn't in any way diminish what they did. They were unique. They changed the rules. I didn't like the way the rules were, for my personal taste.
Yeah.
But I respect how innovative they were and how sophisticated their harmonies were. They were able to make very popular music with pretty sophisticated elements.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed off about that drum sound, though. Come on. That is the tiniest drum sound in the history of rock and roll.
Okay.
But I'm over that now.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's
Remember
respectable.
love.
We're going to.
This is the best part.
We're going to.
You know, we're
going to talk to Rick Marotta next week.
We are sinners all,
Yes,
and we can't help but judge.
that's true.
Yeah.
But when the hammer falls, remember love.
Remember love.
Well, that sounds good. I can do that.
I said that.
Did you write
On
that?
the
Is that yours?
Gizmodrome record. Only on the Gizmodrome record, it's much better. It's Remember Love.
I love it. What's your guitar face look like? Let's see it. Nice. Perfect.
That's for our listener.
yes.
Well, the thing is, I've discovered that if I wear shades, it not only looks cool and gets me out of my suburban dad persona and into something else. You know, the mask reveals the true identity. But the really cool thing about the shades is that I can look down at the frets.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do your frets light up?
No.
Okay.
That's why I need the shades.
Yeah. The question
Mark's
I wanted
does,
to
though.
ask.
Mark has the whole
he
lit
has
up
the whole
bass thing,
thing
yeah.
glowing. I'm going to ask this as it relates to Gizmodrome in a second, but if you look back at the Police, is there some element that you would have done differently that you want to do now in Gizmodrome?
No, I think the Police arc was kind of perfect. After
I'm
recording.
so relieved to hear you say that.
Well, no, after recording those drum fills, for instance, I'd heard the song 20 minutes. It's the first thing that came into my mind. Probably not the best thing.
Yeah.
You go out on tour, you play it, you figure, oh, now this is how I should have gone from the chorus back down into the verse. You figure it out, and you think, gosh, I wish I could have played that on the record. But you know what? The record didn't suck.
Right.
No.
Right.
And we fought, and I wish I'd been nicer to Sting, and that he'd been nicer to me, and all that. But you know what? The result didn't suck.
The result did not suck.
And we get along just great now. We've been through all that, and we love what we've been through, and we are deeply bonded as a result of it. We get along great until somebody mentions music.
You get along great over barbecue.
Exactly. Just don't, and we both understand why. So it all kind of went perfect.
That all makes my heart feel happy.
And we even broke up at the right time.
Yes.
Everything about it was perfect. One of the things that Pete and I do is we keep saying that we're going to do a tournament bracket, like the NCAA tournament, where we line up all of our favorite albums and then whittle them down and face them off against each other and take the original 64 and then work it down, and then you get to the Sweet 16, and in a tournament bracket, the unique thing about the Police is that all 5 albums belong on the bracket. Huh. There aren't very many bands who can say that they had a progression of records where each one was a little different than the previous. There was an evolution, and all of it was strong. And then you got out right at the perfect time. I mean, you want to talk about...
Well, we never saw the other side of the parabola.
Right.
Yeah. It's the 5-album arc. You guys have basically invented that thing, and it's perfect. Everything
at the same time, I'm envious. Not so much envious, but I admire U2, Foo Fighters.
Oh, sure.
Rush. Those guys are best friends.
Yeah.
They'll call each other up and say, "What are you doing? You know, let's grab a beer." You know, chuckle buddy friends, not business associates. Not. And I feel very wistful about that. You know, Sting and Andy and I are very close, but we didn't grow up in the same village. Our lives are completely divergent, and we get along great when we do see each other. But I look at those bands with that kind of bond, and I think that's sort of how it's supposed to be, you know, in the real world. We're adults now, and that's probably not how it's supposed to be, but I sort of see that as an idol.
It is pretty cool and rock and roll and all that. Like Green Day. You're buddies, and you were kids together. And yeah. Wow.
Green Day blew my mind. I wrote them off years ago as a fake punk band.
Right.
And I made a little bet with my niece. $50 a year from now you won't be caught dead watching that. Okay, 20 years later I had to give her $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw them and I got it. Those guys, 3 guys come out on the stage, explode on the stage, and just do. You know, that's how you do it. You know, not a huge fan of their songs necessarily,
right?
But man, that's how you do it. Trey Cool. Okay, in spite of that name, he smacks those drums just perfect. Yeah. They all hit together just right. That is a great rockin' band.
I love opening this part of the conversation with you too, because you have.
I had the same experience with Foreigner.
With Foreigner?
Wow.
Yeah. Long story. What I was doing at a Foreigner gig. And they had always been, back in the day, one of the foils, and I'm not proud to say this, but we used Foreigner as a template of bands that we would dump on as the epitome of everything that we were attempting to not be.
Yeah.
Except for the having huge hits part.
Right. You want that part.
We wanted that part that Foreigner had. Anyhow, I saw them, and live, it was a whole different deal. Every song is a hit. Yeah. They jump out on that stage and they whip crack that drummer. If it hadn't been Pete Biggin, it'd be that guy, you know, playing for Gizmodrome.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you can cop an attitude when you're Steely Dan, another example.
Yeah.
You cop an attitude when you're young, and then you grow up.
Yeah. The whole the fake punk thing with them and Offspring too. It's like,
well, we were fake punks. Who am I to cast aspersions
about
funny
fake
thing,
punks? Yeah, and then all of a sudden you realize, no, there's still punk. There's plenty of room for all.
It's
these
a
guys.
genre, and that's what they play.
Yeah, and they play the heck out of it.
In our case, we were totally pretending. You know, I think it's a much less honorable our version of fakeness, and I'm going to brag on that.
Yeah, well, your version of fakeness worked though. We all bought into it. When you do see bands like that initially kind of sets you off your center, you're like, that's fake punk, or that's, stupid Foreigner, and we don't want to follow their model. What is that evolution, though? Like, is it seeing them live, or is it something else that allows you to go, I got it?
It's relaxing. It's not taking it personally when somebody does something that isn't your thing necessarily.
Yeah.
When you're young, you identify with your music.
Okay.
Us and them.
That's true.
And then when with a little wisdom, and some of your kids listening music designed to piss you off.
Yes. Rock and
particular.
roll. That's what that is.
Yes.
Yes.
Except that my sons grew up listening to Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and
sure.
all the music that I the weird thing, in my generation, our parents' music was alien.
Yeah.
It was trumpets, trombones.
Right.
Jazz, big band jazz, just unrelated. And
yes.
More importantly, utterly and totally different hairdo.
Yeah.
And so culturally, I would never listen. I was forced to. I was raised to be a jazz musician. I was forced to listen to Stan Kenton. I did kind of like the Buddy Rich, but the Woody Harmon and the Dorsey brothers and all this white big band jazz, wrong jazz. So, but my kids didn't have that same cultural divide. They listened to the same music as me, same hairdo as me, same bands. There's new bands too, but the bands that I revere there shall be no talking in the car when Hendrix is playing.
Right.
They get
and
it
everybody
too.
agrees.
They
on
agree.
It. Yeah.
And they all sit reverential while we're going through, Voodoo Child.
We have a show definition for rock and roll because a lot of times people are like that band shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It basically works like this: if Ice Cube from NWA shows up to date your daughter, are you pissed? Are you like, oh fuck no? If Chris Brown shows up, that's rock and roll. Like that's you're anti-establishment. You're going to break all the rules. You're terrifying the parents.
Hello, Mr. Turner. My name is Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
Boom. Slam the door. Put on a shirt.
Yeah. Well, this is what heavy metal most specifically is about. Mm-hmm. For young males who achieve the size and girth of adult manhood, but they have no power in society. Mm-hmm. And heavy metal is that rage. And for me, I was a late developer, so I didn't have the facial hair, the chest hair, if you like. And so for me to listen to heavy metal, Jimi Hendrix was borrowed chest hair.
Yes.
It was a male primate silverback identity that you can strap on.
Okay.
I may be a skinny little piece of shit, but check this shit out. And that angry music that expresses that rage of impotent young malehood, that's what rock and roll is for. That's why it's all about pissing off your parents.
Yep.
And it's a cry of rage. It's like, I have no power, but this music is fucking powerful, and I hope you're terrified by it. This music is my power. And that's why I played drums as a skinny little 12-year-old.
Right.
Because I was a skinny little kid. But these drums make my voice deep and resonant.
It's your own chest hair dicky that you set
That's
on.
right.
Boop, put it on, and there it is.
My voice was squeaky, but I could bang the shit out of those drums.
Yes, you could.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that voice. I'm glad you found that. That's pretty cool. So, do you have a favorite piece of work that you have looked back on now where you go, I think that's when I was doing my most creative work?
Not so much. What I have found is that the quality of my work and the quantity have stayed about the same. What I've learned is tricks of the trade.
Huh.
That tune that I wrote as a kid, da-da-da-da-da-da, now I can take that tune and I can put it to a 90-piece orchestra. And I know how many flutes should be in the mix. That should be the strings with the heavy strings with just a little clarinet on top, and I know how to do that now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, the quality of the tune was no better or worse than I come up with now.
Right.
But nowadays I know
it had a different amount of dexterity.
I could play it with a 90-piece orchestra or a rock band. I would know now how a rock band should play that. And so I have more skills, but the quantity and the quality hasn't changed. And the quantity thing is that if you're a composer, there's a river of music in your head. I know many musicians who are incredible musicians, but that river isn't flowing. When they think of a tune, they think of a Steely Dan tune.
Right.
I haven't got time for a Steely Dan tune or even a Jimi Hendrix tune because I got this rage of my own music in my own head. And it's a gift. And it doesn't mean that the quality is any higher, but the quantity is there. And you may like my music or not, but it's there. I've got it. I open the trap door and out it comes flooding out. Maybe bullshit. Maybe it isn't any good, but it's there. There's a lot of it. Fortunately, in my case, there is a sliver of society that kind of likes it, so I can make a living out of it.
Yeah, a lot of it's found a home.
Yeah, some of it's found a home. It's not mainstream. My instincts, the music that naturally comes from my heart, isn't as on the money as, for instance, Elton John or Paul McCartney, or these people who or Sting.
Right.
His instincts, the music that he wants to play, his instinct, and he follows his instinct. He's not following a format or formula or chart. He's following his own instincts, and his instincts are closer to the sweet spot of what the world wants to hear. My own taste, Adrian Belew's taste, Frank Zappa's taste. Now we follow our instincts, but they're not so much in the sweet spot of the zeitgeist of what our society. But there's a little niche for us so that we can earn a living and do it.
Yeah.
The gift that you're talking about can also be a corrupting curse. Like we've had Sly Stone on the show. And
the enablement, the rewards that come as a result of that gift, those can be corrosive.
One of the things that we had a bunch of musicians kind of on around him talking about his influence on their lives. And one of the things we got from that was that his river there is no sluice box to open. It's just constant. And so they thought that maybe some of his life choices were in an effort to kind of create a gate and slow some of that down because it was just overwhelming him. He was constantly drowning in his own music.
Like a form of tinnitus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, does that resonate? I mean, obviously you're on the good end where you're able to control it.
Well, I would say that he is a guy with that gift, but he probably had some other gifts that were less benign.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have gifts. That,
Sure.
You know, addictiveness, for instance, varies from person to person, and it's in your DNA or not.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not such a great gift.
Right.
And I don't know at all with Sly Stone, but I would suspect that the rewards of the quality of his music was an enabling for some of these negative gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that's a commonly heard,
Sure.
you experience that a lot in rock and roll. Sid Vicious, he was enabled and encouraged to destroy himself because destroying himself was
part of his brand.
picturesque, and it was part of his image of himself, and he was too stupid to know that everyone's laughing at him. So it destroyed him.
That is profound. Were you a fan of Frank Zappa?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Adrian played on. Did he play on just one Frank Zappa record, or was
I'm
he there
not sure.
for
No, I
one?
think he was there for a few.
Okay.
But my brag on Adrian is that our guitarist, we got him. He's in our band now. We got Adrian Belew.
Yes.
He's the guy who was stolen from Frank Zappa by David Bowie.
Right.
And now you have him.
And now he's our guy.
That's right.
Yeah. I remember we were going through, we first realized we were going to have you on the show. We started doing the prep work, and I was telling John, I'm like, and Adrian Belew's in the band. And then he says, holy shit, you know, because that's the kind of
Can you
impact
say
he
that on
has.
radio?
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we wondered before listening to Gizmodrome, and maybe after listening to Gizmodrome, how do you make room for all of that monstrosity?
We don't.
I mean, everybody comes in there, and everybody is a wall, and it's just a bunch of it's a Mack trucks driving into the center of a circle.
We don't make room. Everybody just goes for it.
Yeah.
And the best part is that, wait till what's that singer going to do with this?
Good
Cool.
luck.
Yeah.
Fine. I got that covered.
Yeah.
You can make as much noise as you want, but I'm singing now, and I'm not intimidated. I can ride that horse because I am that horse. And so there's too many drum fills.
Yeah.
The guitar playing is far too insane. And so that's why we're progressive.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that for a minute because that
Please.
came up. Like I say, we made the record ourselves for ourselves, and we kicked our ass, and our wives said they like it, but really we had no idea what we had created, what we had done, until we hit the promo trail, which began in Paris, France. We did Paris, Berlin, Munich, Warsaw, London, New York, and our first stop was in Paris, where we start to find out what it is that we did. And the French journalists are talking to us and saying, well, this record is a kind of a progressive, but maybe the songs are so short, but it's a kind of punk. I go crazy. I don't know. Je m'en fous. Prog, punk, prog. And punk, prog. Kind of like the sound of that because, you know, the prog part, there's too many drum fills. The guitar playing is too insane.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's the prog.
Yeah.
And the punk part, why, yes, of course, we do intend to burn down your city and eat your children.
Right.
Voila.
Short songs that hit you in the face.
There you go. Punk, prog.
Yeah.
And then when Adrian and I did our sessions in New York, just the two of us,
Yeah.
to represent, okay, now we got punk, prog, power duo.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a genre. There's got to be a magazine for that, right?
If they're not, there is one now.
Yeah,
well,
there should be.
one thing we know in this life is that there is porn for it.
Yes, that's for sure. If you've innovated, someone's taken that and turned it into porn. That's absolutely true. One of the songs I heard you sing kind of reminded me, not because of the sonic thing, but just the approach, the theme, the feel, was it sounded like ZZ Top LaGrange. You know, just you got this guy and he's like, ha ha, you know, and I think you captured that kind
Man
of
on
vibe.
the mountain,
Maybe
coming on down.
Yeah, just that, again, that storyteller, and like we're coming into town and bad things are about to happen and we're going to have a great time doing it.
That's right.
And I love it. I love
Well,
that you
there's
have
an
the freedom to do
homage
this.
throughout the album to Captain Beefheart.
Oh, nice.
Everything's wrong at the same time it's right.
Yes.
Terrific.
That theme has stuck in my head since whenever it was he did that. Because it's true sometimes. The wrongness of something is part of the thrill of it.
So right.
Yes. Yes.
That's like the slut you dated right after high school. You knew she was a trollop. She had been everywhere. God bless her. So, you mentioned the horse. Are you still playing polo?
No, I
Thank
traded my
God.
horses in for children.
Okay.
Almost as expensive.
Yeah. Horses are expensive, especially fancy horses like that.
Yeah. Well, you need a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you got to keep them in shape.
Right.
And keeping those athletes, it's like you got a basketball team in your stables.
Yeah.
You got to keep them fit, fed. They're athletes. You really have to run their lives and their fitness program, deal with injuries.
Sure.
It's a hobby. It's a vocation as well as a sport.
Yeah, thank God you're not playing polo anymore, because there was one thing about the Police that I just recalled that probably was blocked out in my memory like a traumatic experience was the Greatest Hits album with Don't Stand So Close to Me and a drum machine.
Yep, that drum machine was because of a polo accident.
Was it really?
That's painful.
You know, it turns out that horses either they're on the left foot or the right foot. They're either running around a corner with the left foot leading or they're running around. And my horse was on the left foot. He thought I was going to turn left, but the game, somebody hit a ball, the gameplay changed, and I needed to turn right. He crossed his front feet. The horse does a somersault, and I am obliged to dismount.
Yes.
And I land on one
Forcefully.
shoulder, break a collarbone just days before we were going to go and cut some Police songs. And so I had to use a computer.
Yeah.
And the great battle between the synclavier and the fairlight occurred. And the result was a record that I think is pretty cool, because whatever it lacked in live drumming and all that, what Sting did with the vocals, the vocal arrangement is really interesting. I think it's really cool. Of course, the world hated upon it fiercely, but it's kind of a cool version.
Yeah. We're in your studio, and there are so many different instruments.
Yes, I have the world's largest collection of the cheapest instruments money can buy.
Which one just tickles you to play it and grab it?
Oh, shit, I'm plugged in here. I was about to go play one.
Well,
that
we can
trombone
walk
over there.
with you.
I like that
trombone.
trombone over there.
Oh, yeah, we're on battery power.
Yeah,
we'll just
Okay,
we'll
we're
just
walking
trail
around
you.
the studio now.
Here we go.
Okay, here we are.
We're taking a walk.
We're walking around. This is one of my favorites. That's not a trumpet. This is a trumpet.
Yes.
Wow.
What do you see, guys? Tell your listeners
Yeah,
what
well,
you're looking
I was
at
trying
here.
to figure out, is it like a keyed trombone? Is it a flugelhorn? What is it?
It is a marching baritone horn in the shape of a trumpet, but about 3 times the size. You see, that's what jazz is for.
Yeah.
It's so easy to play.
What about this dual-horned horn? What is this
Yeah,
thing?
what's going on here?
Well,
Yeah.
this is sort of like a horn with
that
a
looks like
wah-wah.
a trap.
It's-
okay.
Well, this is actually pretty fancy. My wife got me this for my birthday. I don't play a lot, so it's a little stiff. But as you'll see, it has two horns
Two
coming out
bells.
of it, two
Yeah.
bells, and they don't change tone, but they have a different sound. So it's like a wah-wah pedal.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to name that the dual-horned contraflugelbonium.
Okay. Well, it is the onium part. It's because it is a euphonium, and the sax here. I discovered that this is where I really understood. My father raised me to be a jazz musician, but what he didn't tell me is how fucking easy it is. And I've been paying guys to do this all these years. Let's see. It's actually one of the best instruments in here, but what the hell's wrong with this guy? I put it on my neck because I got these earphones on. Come on, sing for Daddy now. That's what jazz is.
Yeah.
That's all it is, folks. By the way, I haven't been practicing.
The thing about the
That's the trick I
saxophone is
learned
that
when I first got it.
anything you do that's wrong or anything you do that's right, you can blame on
Everything's
heroin.
wrong, but at the same time, it's right. This is my favorite instrument. This trombone over here. See, I found this valve alto, which is a little baby trombone.
Oh, wow.
Little baby trombone. and it's got vowels on it, so the slide makes it tricky to figure out the notes. But this, and I found this antique one, but it falls apart when you look at it, so I got this from China. As you can see, technical proficiency is not a high priority for me.
Well, you are a punk rock kid.
Well, I mean, I can get 3 notes out of it and ham it up on the thing and jam along with whatever's on Shirley and Spinoza radio, which is in known key anyway. This I got from Bali. It's like the war tambourines.
Right.
It's for that 16th notes thing. And this I found in China. Very pretty little thing. I don't know if you're getting this. Isn't that pretty?
That's like if a tongue drum was a tea kettle.
I don't know what it is. I saw it in a store in China, in Peking, Beijing.
That's cool.
Is this a 3-hole punch or is this
That's a
actual
3-hole
instrument?
punch. That is a 3-hole punch. That is a stapler.
Yes.
Bass stapler.
Both
I
of
got
those
a tenor.
gadgets.
I got a tenor over there.
Yeah. Right.
This is my daddy's trumpet, which I can't
nice.
play because it has this little wussy little mouthpiece on it, which you actually have to be a trumpet player.
Right.
I'm not a trumpet player.
Yeah.
This here is my grandmother,
Oh.
mezzo soprano with the Paris Opera.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Look at that. She's hot.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Wow.
What a
Mezzo
neat
soprano.
thing.
These are her scores.
Are you kidding me?
She was the diva there. She was the big diva.
Yeah.
And with her leather-bound scores. I come from a long line.
Yeah, obviously.
No kidding.
Oh, that's a is that a kalimba? Is that what that is?
Yeah, my son made this.
That's a tongue drum.
Oh, tongue drum. There it is. Yeah.
He made that.
Sitting right next to it is one of my favorite toys in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Everybody loves the timpani.
Actual timpani players can actually play the tune on a thing.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Well, it's easier for them to do when they got 5 of them, but they pre-tune as they play. This is just one of a set. But they have them all set up, so as they play their basically bass notes, they have them pre-set up, and they can tune this one while playing that one. Very clever.
I love to
This
watch
drum
the
here-
timpanist in between.
Yeah.
I got in the Congo, up the Congo River with the pygmy, in the deep triple canopy jungle.
Right.
And this here, it is an elephant skin on this drum. And you can look at it. That is unmistakably Babar the elephant.
Yes.
And they're pygmy elephants. In the pygmy jungle, they got pygmy elephants, and the pygmies hunt the pygmy elephants.
Yeah.
And they do it by standing there with their spear. Actually, the ones that we found had shotguns.
Huh.
They still had the chiseled teeth and everything. They're completely fourth world.
Yeah.
But they've got these Czechoslovakian shotguns where they take out the pellets and they put a spear into the barrel.
Wow.
And they get up next to the elephant and they get a little closer, but it's pretty soon they're standing next to the elephant pretending to be a tree. Bang! Right into the elephant's heart. And before the things hit the deck, 50 pygmies come out of the jungle and they're carving that sucker up because they want to get the heart out, hopefully while it's still beating.
Wow.
And that's how they do with the elephants.
Man.
Then they throw a party and play.
And at the
hell
moment,
out of
there's
that
probably
drum.
more elephants in the jungle than there are pygmies.
Probably.
That's pretty masculine for the pygmies.
Yeah, well, we
Yeah.
never saw any of this because they could never get that. With us galumphing around with them with our cameras and stuff, we'd get there after they had already got one. We came to a few where they had already got the elephant, and the villagers from miles around are carving it up, and they had, our driver, guy, because this was by the side of a road. This is actually closer to the town. When we're way, way, way out there, it's a whole different deal. But closer to the Bantu towns, the pygmies still hunt the elephant, and the Bantu in their jeeps, they'll go out there and get them some good, fine, fresh elephant meat wrapped in leaves and flies,
Well, you got to have flies for the spice. Yeah.
Did you try it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. All right. That was a nice lap around the studio.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So when does the Gizmodrome album drop?
September 15th.
September 15th. That is, for our listeners, let's see. We're going to drop this show on Monday.
Monday.
So that's Friday. Friday, listeners.
Friday.
Gizmodrome.
Yeah.
Get it.
The wind-up has been amazing.
Yeah. So wherever you can get it. Gizmodrome, 9:15.
Life goes on. The river still flows, so let's just not close. Sayonara and adios.
Stewart Copeland, everybody.